Welcome to Let's Talk Passion and Purpose, the podcast where we explore the journeys of creators, leaders, and visionaries who've turned their passions into purpose. Join your host, Nicole Thomas, as we dive into inspiring stories, uncover strategies for success, and help you take the next step toward a life filled with meaning. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Passion and Purpose. I'm excited because this evening I'm here with none other than Monique Luck. Monique Luck is an award-winning artist and muralist with a focus on community and public artworks. She has exhibited her work frequently at galleries and museums across the U.S., including the African American Museum of Dallas, the South Carolina State Museum, the Heinz History Center Museum, the August Wilson Center in Pittsburgh, the Kunst Sprinkney at Novilla, Berlin, Germany, Harvey B. Gantt Center and Levine Museum of the New South in Charlotte, North Carolina. Monique's work as a public muralist with the Sprout Fund is featured in the PBS documentary, It's the Neighborhoods. Monique recently completed a pivotal public art installation for the city of Asheville, North Carolina, through a collaboration with local artists and community members for the Celebrating African Americans Through Public Art project. Her latest public art installations are vibrant additions showcased throughout North Carolina, highlighting her work in Druid Hill, Charlotte, Frontier Research Triangle in Durham, and the Cone Health Heart and Vascular Center in Greensboro. Monique, I am so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Monique, you've had a fascinating career as a muralist and artist. Could you start by sharing with us how your journey into the art world began? What sparked your passion for creating these soulful and textured pieces that we see?
So I have to always start with saying I started as an artist, figuring that out that I was, I guess, sort of when I was a kid, 5 years old. My mom was like, oh my gosh, I knew you were going to be an artist. I looked at pictures of you. It was this kindergarten thing, and we all drew pictures, and she saw the book and she's like, oh my gosh, I think she's gonna be an artist. So I'm just prefacing that with my entire life, I felt like I was gonna be an artist because my mom kind of gave that to me, which I thought was brilliant. And I think that's something that, as we should always encourage that. But I will say, really, it's always had this feeling inside of me, or I always loved creating. I always loved drawing. I always loved painting. I always loved doing things. But as far as the actual career part of it, I remember I was kind of just this green artist, and I was painting, and I was hanging out with one of my friends. She was a brilliant artist, and I said, hey, why don't we just do something together? Let's do some murals together. Let's go out and start painting. And so we started I just had this idea, let's go do some murals. And just for fun. And so we approached a couple of businesses that allowed us to start, and we just started praying. And that, I think that was probably my first venture into the public art world or the public art field, or just the actual being willing to put myself out there as an artist.
Oh, so you started young, 5 years old.
Yeah.
And then having a very supportive parent. So your mother already seeing your gift and encouraging to move in that space.
Mm-hmm.
So did you happen, as far as education, take courses in college to refine your skill set? Especially when you decided to go and work on murals, was that something that you already had honed your skills when you decided to?
Not at all. Not at all. Because even though my parents were encouraged me to do that, it was more like a hobby. Oh yeah, you can do some painting. So this is more of just a self-taught thing. So college was more focusing on business. And so, yes, I did some art courses, but it was not a focus. It was just, I think, even though I always internally identified as an artist, so to speak, I never really believed that I could make a career out of art necessarily. So it was almost kind of a side hustle, hey, let's paint some murals and let's make a little business.
Mm-hmm. And so at what point did you realize that you could make it a full-time career?
Honestly, I'm still pinching myself that it's happening right now. I think it's always one thing to the next. So to your point, I always been okay, I would love to do some, do more murals, learn more about it. And I there was this wonderful, I lived in Pittsburgh at the time, and there was this opportunity to volunteer for this really amazing program. It was called the Sprout Art Fund, the Sprout Fund. And they were based out of Philadelphia and they had moved in Pittsburgh. And I said, oh, this is amazing. Let's just volunteer. So I'm always like coming up with all these ideas. So I talked to my friend. I was like, hey, we should just apply. We should just go and like learn how to do it. Well, we applied and we won it. We got the mural. And I was like, oh my
Wow.
gosh, like, what to do now? Like, I was just like, I kind of was like, I felt like I was out of my head. I was like, I just wanted to apply to learn. But what was amazing, there was a mentor. His name is Morton Brown. He's still in Pittsburgh. He's still in public art. He's amazing. He kind of tucked us under our wing and walked us through like how to do it, how to grade it out. And this is before, like, mind you, this was back in the day before we started like, spray painting, but we were brushing this out. We graded it out and like, it was grunt work, man. It was great though. And I loved it. I got stung by bees. I had so many experiences like meeting community members. And I really think that ignited my passion for how art can really impact the community. So it was like, having, yes, I was kind of like, hey, let's do this for fun. But then it was like kind of once you were in it and once I started experiencing the reaction the community had, that's really what started driving my passion for public art.
Okay. So the reaction and then the impact, it sounds as if just working in the public space has been fulfilling for you.
Yeah. And just like engaging with community members, like when you're out there painting and people are just coming like, what are you doing? What's it going to be? Like, it's just something really powerful about it. It's also scary because you're out there painting and what if they hate it, But at the same time, I think the impact that just engaging with the community and then just being out there every day and then seeing you painting or them, saying, hey, what does this mean? Or just having those interactions. I think it's just such a impactful, powerful way to communicate. And that really that was the beginning of my love for public art.
Oh, that's wonderful. So I want to also make sure our audience is aware when we say public art, can you define that for us, for people or listeners who may not be as familiar?
Right. Well, that's a great question. For me, public artwork is anything that is outside visually that the public can experience or engage with. That's to me what public art is. And I think what's interesting is how public art and fine art has been able to kind of merge itself a little bit more because back in and you may ask me this question in a little bit, so I don't want to jump ahead. But to answer your question specifically, yes, I think public art is anything that the public can engage with outside, without having to go directly to like a gallery or to an art, store or somewhere. It just, if you can experience it in the public, I think that's what I would describe as public artwork.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your creative process? What does that look like?
So it's really interesting. I think it depends on the project that I'm working on. I really like to tell stories through the artwork that I'm creating. And often I'm inspired specifically by a conversation I've had, by something that someone from the community may have left me. I've done some community engagements where I've had like anonymous notes left for me. And I've kind of taken some of conversations I've done with like workshops, community workshops, things like that are inspirational. And other times I may just have conversation directly with maybe someone who wants to commission me for a project. Or it might just be a broad spectrum story of history, so it really depends on the project. So I usually start by really gathering information, doing research on it, and then really trying to find like something that like impacts me or that I'm drawn to. And once I kind of find that thing that I'm connected to, that resonates with me, that I feel, then it's suddenly I start getting those images and ideas coming forth as far as what is the vision going to be. And oftentimes it might be several moments of, if it's a community engagement project, it might be several workshops, or it might just be me asking the client a few more questions, or it might just be me just kind of delving into the history of something and pulling out more information. So it's really interesting because it's a lot more like kind of fact gathering in the beginning and less like creating necessarily. Like it's more internal or more like journaling and writing down notes. So I often have tons and tons of notes that I'm writing down before I actually start the actual like putting it onto canvas.
Right. It's an entire process, which includes research. How does
Mhm.
this research change you? How do you evolve as an artist during the process of creating your work?
I think that's a really great question. Often I can get sidetracked because I kind of like delve down into like these little like side notes and things I want to do more of. And I have these notes like, oh, I got to go back to that. Um, but I really think the soul or the essence of the story kind of comes forth. And so I've learned, I think, over the years as I've been kind of fact gathering and storytelling and trying to, especially with the community engagement process that I typically utilize or work with, it's just you have a lot of voices. I've learned to kind of hone down and kind of figure out like, what the soul is or what is the essence of what the message is of the story. And so I think I've learned that over the years as everything's always been inspired by community or especially the public art pieces or even the personal pieces. There's always a story behind it. But I think I've learned to really just feel the essence of what they're trying to say. And I hope it resonates.
Thank you for sharing that information. And Monique, another question for you regarding what you want people to see, because you were talking about the essence and you used that multiple times. What message do you want people to see when they view your artwork? What essence of you do you want them to take away?
Mm, I don't know if I have have the answer to that. I think for me, I hope that when someone sees the artwork, that it resonates with them. And I think for each project, it's a little different, when I'm doing a public art piece, I feel like it's a community experience in a sense because it is putting it out there for everyone to see. And I will never know all of the reactions to it. So, I mean, I always hope it's positive, but even if it isn't, I would like to hope that they've learned something or they got an experience from viewing the artwork. For my personal, like fine art pieces, they also have tell a story in a different way. And again, I just hope that everyone can kind of resonate on or get something from it. I don't necessarily like to explain it to everyone. I kind of feel like I'm more interested in what people see when they come to me and they talk about it. And with the type of work that I do, it's very nuanced with the, mixed media collage. You see the work on a large scale, maybe graphically, but if you really delve down into the small pieces of the collage, you're going to see those little words and those little pieces that I put in there that are kind of hidden. So there's it's almost like a multi-layered story. So yes, you see the impact of the outside and then you get in and then you're going to see some of the little hidden stuff in there too. Which is good.
I'm curious. It
Yeah.
sounds like it's good stuff. What made you start adding words which add more texture and layers to your work? What prompted you to begin adding that level of detail to your artwork?
Well, I mean, it started from childhood. I grew up with my grandfather. I mean, I grew up in a very creative family. My grandfather was a poet. So I remember sitting and listening to my grandfather read his poetry. My mother was a dancer. They always danced they did these performances. My grandmother was an opera singer. So I came with a very creative family. So we always were, creativity was welcomed. And so I think one of my very first series paintings was inspired by my grandfather's poetry. And so I've always incorporated words and verbiage into the artwork. And I feel like, just the words itself are so impactful, like the words we choose and what we choose to say. That's why if you see any words inside of my artwork, they're very intentional. I don't just throw in random words in there.
Yeah. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I want to take a look at your you have a community art projects. And I want to discuss celebrating African Americans through public art, that specific project in Asheville.
Mhm.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the impact, the community engagement at play with this particular project and the influence on your creative decisions?
Yeah, that was a really powerful project. And really, I can't say that that project would have been able to be completed without the input of other artists that were part of that. So I was one of the artists. I was the lead artist on the project. However, there were other artists that were a part of the team, and it was a multitude of voices. So I think that's what made that project so unique is we had, local muralists from Asheville, local poets from Asheville, other amazing like printmakers and fabricator artists that came in and they incorporated this project. And it was over like a series of workshops. So we got to explore the historical district of the block of Asheville. And it was something that you just didn't know about. And, even though I was, I was living in Charlotte. I love Asheville. I didn't even know about this historical part of the block. And so it was so fascinating for me to really kind of figure out like, or learn about from the community what happened. And so we had wonderful historical people who would come in and would just share with us. And we did walking tours of the city, and the community was just amazing. So this project I was grateful to be part of, but it would never have been completed without everyone. And so there were so many voices that were part of it. And I think a lot of times, I think that's what people need to understand, like with public artwork, it's so important to have those conversations. And I think that Asheville really did that for this project. And there was some definite moments where we were just like so surprised that we learned. And I don't even know if people get to the piece itself and they can look and see all the little things that are kind of hidden in there that are part of the historical district of it. But we had people that came from the community that brought in their own pictures that are there in the artwork right now. There are people that helped us create the mini collages that we put into the pieces, into the artwork, which so they can come and be like, that was Letty's, that was there. And I think that's what's so important is, when you're creating some artwork, yes, we have to kind of manage it and make sure it all, looks wonderful, but there's a wonderful way to do it where you can take their words and take their artwork and include it. And I think that's what makes it your own in a way. Like they can have ownership of it. Yes, I was part of it, behind it, but yet it would never have happened without their voices. And telling that story of the history is just, I don't know, it's just huge. So I was really grateful to be part of that.
Oh, that's amazing. And congratulations. Congratulations. Impactful. Can you share a memorable experience from working with community members? So you discussed a little bit about working collaboratively with artists, but tell me about working with community members on your public art installations.
Okay, yeah, I've looked it. So there's one. So I did a project recently. We actually just installed it in June in Charlotte. It's in Druid Hills, the Druid Hills community in Charlotte. And we were working on it, and we had actually been working on it for a while. And that's one of the things with public art. Sometimes you're working on a project for a long time because you don't know what city limits are, permits, things like that. Anyway, so this particular project, one of the community members, he was just passionate about bringing, making the community better. And he had this like vision. It was amazing. So COVID hit, everything changed. So we had to do the community engagement virtually, which is a crazy thing. But one of the things he did, one of the things I like to do is say, hey, take a picture or bring an object or an item that means something to you. So for this particular project, we had to just do photographs because we couldn't do it in person. But he brought this rock. And this rock, he says, I take this with me to every home I go to. And it's always here. And it's like my foundation. And it's something really important to me. And that was just a community item. So I took a picture of that rock. And now that rock is in the mural. And it's kind of at the foundation of this tree, of this, it's called Love Never Loses Its Way Home was the name of the mural. And that piece is there. And I'm so grateful that it's there. And then since it happened, since the mural was completed, before it was completed, he passed, which is so sad. He never got to see it. But every time I see that rock, I think about him, like how passionate he was about it, how he was so excited to participate in the project, and how this rock was his foundation. And so I kind of feel like, it's just I don't know, just that rock is just that was one of my special moments with a community member.
Yeah. I tell you, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that experience. You've exhibited in so many prestigious spaces, like the African American Museum of Dallas and the Kunst Sprinkme in Berlin.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
How has your work evolved over the years? Especially now that you've gained so much more exposure and opportunities to collaborate.
That's a great question, Nicole. I don't know that it's necessarily, I guess it has evolved in a sense. It's kind of interesting. I think maybe I'm more intentional a little bit with some of the things I'm placing, whereas before I might have been just more like, let's, create. But I think I'm more intentional about the messages that I'm sharing, I think. Like, for example, right now, I'm really focused on a new series about mental health. And I had the opportunity to do a residency here in Charlotte with the Harvey Gantt Center. I was really grateful to do this. And it was a focus on mental wellness and mental healthness. And it kind of goes back to one of the questions you asked me before about how do you incorporate your own life experiences into your artwork? Well, this is something that my family, we've experienced with a family member who's had to kind of go through a lot of ups and downs, my brother, and just seeing how it's impacted our family and doing research on it. And I felt like it's something to to share, and that it's okay not to be okay, because it's such a stigma, especially in the Black community, to have this mental health stigma. And so for my residency, I was really focusing on mental wellness. So I think my work has changed in the sense that I'm really intentional about the projects I'm doing now, because I want it to not only resonate with myself, and it is working through, things I need to work through, but I would like to also share it with community in a sense. So my fine art, I feel like, is being more intentional on a personal level, but also in a way that can maybe impact others as well.
Oh,
so if that makes you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, it makes sense. It's really powerful. You know what? You mentioned earlier, you said that you could pinch yourself. The fact that you're and you're pinching yourself. I love it. That you could pinch yourself based on the fact that you really are fully embracing and walking in your purpose in the art space. What would you tell if you had a moment to tell your 5-year-old self a message or give her a message? Pinch yourself, but then you're like, okay, I'm going to go back and tell little Monique.
Yeah.
Give her some advice or a message. What would it be?
Oh my gosh, that's heavy, Nicole. Okay. No, it's not heavy. It's not heavy. No, it's good. No, honestly, this is a really good question. I think I would just tell her to don't give up. Like, it's okay. And to keep going, because sometimes I think, especially in the art, you think, oh, like I did kind of, I don't think I can have a career in art. I think I would tell young Monique is to follow your passion and your purpose. Seriously, don't give up. Follow your dream, but yet your dream can be your way to success. It's okay. You don't have to doubt. So I think I would say that to myself, and I think I would say that to anybody who is wondering what they need to do. I would say pursue what you love. And I don't know what that may look like for anyone. But for me, 5-year-old me, I would tell her not to give up. You got this.
I love that. Don't give up. You got this. And she definitely did not give up. So that is awesome. So looking to the future, what's next for you? I know you mentioned, you gave us a hint of what's next, but tell us more about your upcoming projects.
So I'm currently working on a really kind of a unique project for me. It is a sculptural project, and I'm working with fabricators. And it's going to be a gateway piece with the city of Charlotte. So it's going to be a 4-corner piece coming. Well, we're still in development, but I'm excited about that. So it's unique for me because it's kind of a way for me because, it's way 2-dimensional, and then I've been 3, and now I'm kind of stepping into the sculptural world. So I think that's pretty amazing. I just completed a project with Cone Health, Heart and Vascular Center. They just are creating a new building, and they built a parking garage, and my piece of art is surrounding the entire building, wrapped around the entire parking garage, which is huge. I haven't really shown
amazing,
yet, but it's
amazing.
It was one of the most, honestly, I'm so grateful to the universe, and it's just such a powerful experience to see your artwork like that. So, that piece is coming. So I'll probably be showing that soon. And then I just got accepted to a residency in Greece. Amazing. I tell you, congratulations.
Thank you. So Greece is next for you.
Yes, I'll be working on the Conjuring Blue, the mental health specifically. And I'm excited to, I'm really passionate about that subject. And I think it's really important. So I'm really excited to create some work there.
Oh, I tell you, that's awesome. And marrying it with mental health. And you mentioned storytelling is important. Mm-hmm. So I know the body of work you'll produce at the residency is just going to be impactful. How has attending residencies helped your work?
What's so interesting? I didn't realize how much I needed residencies. I don't know.
Really?
Wait.
Okay.
So my very first residency I ever had was at the McCall Center in Charlotte, which is amazing. I highly recommend applying there to any artist listening. I highly recommend applying. But I think it just gives you this time and space to dedicate yourself to the artwork that yes, we have our studios or we work from home or we do, but it's just something about the residency that gives you permission to just focus on your artwork. And then also it gets you with other creatives who have the same vibration or the same mindset. Or maybe they're working in a different field, but you're learning something new from them. So I think my very first residency was just kind of helped level me up in a sense. And then the next one I did also did that. And so when I went to France, I just think that was my first one outside the country. And I think it was even more expanding. So I think I highly recommend to any artist not to be afraid to go be with fellow creatives and just take some time for your practice. Even if you're just sitting there in the space and you're just absorbing the energy around you, I think it's so worth it. It's just amazing. So I'm 100% highly recommend residencies as a way to expand and grow your practice as an artist.
Yes, it is powerful. It is. And powerful may not be the correct word. Transformative.
Transformative. That's it, Nicole. That's the word. That's the word.
I love it. Question for you, because I never had a chance to ask you this. And, I love to ask some of my guests this question. It's one word that describes Monique Luck. One word.
Unique.
Unique. Okay. I love it. I'll take it. That's
it
great.
Happens to rhyme with my name as well. So
I didn't even think of that.
My mom would say that.
Your mom would say that?
Yeah.
I like that. And then finally, for anyone listening who may be struggling to find their purpose or channel their passion, what advice would you give to them as they search for direction in their lives? So I know you mentioned keep going. You would have told your younger self that. But for someone who is just trying to figure out their purpose, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I would just say to sit with yourself for and sit in space and think about what you really want. And if you want to do something, I just think you should go for it. I mean, we have this life. We live, go for it. And don't be afraid. I mean, I would just say release fear. And release fear. Yeah. There's nothing to be afraid of, to go for what you want.
Mm-hmm. Nothing. I love that too. I love that advice. So Monique, I mean, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yes.
Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience that I have not asked you?
Nicole, I just want to express a lot of gratitude. I think looking back in time, I don't know if I could talk to 5-year-old Monique, you asked me that question earlier, and say, there's going to be some amazing things for you. I think one of the things that's happened for me is one thing had led to another. And I think I've never been afraid to be rejected. And I don't think I've talked about like the rejections I've received. I've got a lot of wonderful things, yes. But a lot of that is I've gotten a lot of rejections too. So I think you have to be okay with being told no, and that's okay. And then it's okay. Okay, no. Okay, wait, maybe that's not right for me, but what is next right for me? And being okay to pivot and just keep following your dream. That's my advice.
Yeah. Thank you. It's such great advice, being able to pivot. And then what you tell yourself, that this may not be for you, but there's something else coming. And the doors do open when we just keep pushing and keep going. Where can we find you? What social media platforms, website?
Right now, Instagram is the best place to find me. At Monique Luck Art on Instagram. Come find me.
Awesome.
I just hit 2,000 followers, so I'm super happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hopefully you will have more followers after this interview.
Thank you for having me, Nicole. Real.
Thank you. It's been an enjoyable conversation. Thank you for sharing your journey. And hopefully you'll come back again.
I hope so.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for joining Let's Talk Passion and Purpose. I hope you're leaving inspired and ready to elevate your journey. Remember to subscribe, rate, and share if you enjoyed today's episode. Stay connected, follow your passion, live purposefully, and we'll see you next time.